Hi, I'm Toto Wolff, the team principal and CEO of the Mercedes.
AMG Petronas F1 team?
Hi, my name is Toto Wolff. I'm the team principal and CEO of the Mercedes AMG Petronas Formula One team, and I have been here since 2013.
Świetnie. Czy możemy zacząć od wątku dla polskich widzów? Skąd twoje polskie korzenie, skąd twój polski? Uwielbiają cię słuchać po polsku, od razu ci to mówię.
Tak dla mnie jest, ja mogę porozmawiać po polsku, ale mi brak słowa z F1. I to dlatego ja wolę porozmawiać po angielsku, because the detail matters. Yeah, my family is from Poland. My mother was born in Częstochowa. I have lots of family still in Bielsko and in Warsaw, and yeah, it's where my roots are, where my grandparents lived, and it's half of where I come from. And I spoke Polish when I was a child at home, always with my mother, but then obviously growing up and moving out, the Polish got less and less. So this is why I can understand every word you say. I can look at the news and understand, but I'm just lacking the vocabulary and not spontaneous enough.
Okay, so what kind of a boss are you?
Nice guy.
Yeah, I heard that you don't like dirty cups and dirty desks.
Yeah, I think that when you're in a high-tech business, or generally, you can spot the ambition by looking at the detail. And attention to detail is very important, because if you can't keep a place clean, then how do you want to do a Formula One car that needs to be very precise and perfect? And I like it with something that Steve Jobs from Apple said one day, is that the iPhone needs to look as clean and well done inside as it needs to look outside. And this is how I view a Formula One car. You take the bonnet of the Formula One car, it needs to be as good as outside.
As a team, though, you're now in a difficult time. How do you keep the motivation when you see that Red Bull is so far ahead and you have strong opponents around you?
We've had such a good run of 8 consecutive World Championships. When I started, we finished second, and then we had 8 times number 1, and then we failed last year and finished third, and we are second at the moment. But as you say rightly, it's not that we're second and fighting for the championship. It's just a team is very dominant with a driver, and we just got to beat them. It's very easy. This is a meritocracy in Formula One. The stopwatch never lies, and if somebody does a better job within the regulations, then we just need to keep chasing those lap time gains.
I asked this question to Mike, and I'm wondering what your answer is. What is the most difficult you experienced out of this 3 different periods you've experienced? Trying to get on top for the first time, trying to stay on top, getting 8 titles in a row, or trying to get back to the top?
Every year and every phase had its challenges. I think when we are second best, we keep pushing in order to beat Red Bull. And then winning this first championship was so special and difficult. And then to prove it, that we could do it again, and then starting to beat the Ferrari records, all-time records of consecutive wins and number of wins, was each year in itself was a big challenge. Remember when Ferrari was so strong with Vettel, when they were a bit optimistic on the engine regulations. And then Red Bull came up with their dominance at the moment, and probably that's been the hardest time so far, because we didn't understand what actually happened. Why is it that what we've seen in the wind tunnel in our simulations didn't correlate at all with what was happening on the track? And we believe that is because the way we developed those previous cars was different to what the new generation needs, and that's probably was the most difficult experience.
Toto, it's easy to Google your net worth. You don't have to be here answering all these difficult questions to media, to your drivers. What's keeping you here?
I'm always driven by my own expectations on the team, on myself. I'm trying to set the right targets and the expectations, like what do I think is a good result for my work. And And that's why I'm always driven by that. I try to be whatever I do in the moment, I try to do as good as possible. You know, you can have me doing some sports or understanding some academics or running this team. I always want to say I've given it my best shot. And that's why I love the sport, and it's so honest. It is it's a meritocracy, and the interaction between business and the lap time is just so good. If you're doing well on the track, you're doing well economically. And at the moment, we are good on economically, we're not so good on track. But I just love this combination of finance and racing.
You have two Hungary drivers in your team, one of the greatest driver of all time, and also an upset driver since the beginning of last year. How do you deal with that?
I think just accepting and acknowledging that they are high performance individuals. They're also never satisfied with what they do, their own work, and of course also anybody else's work that has an influence on their performances. And that's why we're all pushing in the same direction. We try to provide the best possible framework and environment for a driver to be strong. And sometimes that means putting your own ego behind, because you need to have them in the best place. And it's been a long time since we've been with Lewis. I have a very good relationship with him. I know George now almost 10 years. So I think we're all pulling in the same direction.
Do you have to manage Lewis from time to time, though, his emotions?
Yes, of course, because when you're in the car and you're overwhelmed with the situation, you're racing at 300 kilometers an hour, wheel to wheel with another car. Your own car isn't very good. The tires are degrading. You haven't got the overview of what's happening in the race. Sometimes you can help to recalibrate. And also, I understand, I've been in a car, I understand how upset or how exuberant you can be after you've done well or not well. And that's why I always try to be a sounding board, a sparring partner, a friend, a boss, to have him in a good place. And I enjoy that. I enjoy our interactions.
I'm wondering, have you ever lied to him to his own benefit?
I don't do in lies at all. We've had situations where I felt giving him an information that was about accurate would help him. So in the race, there was a situation when we struggled with the car, when he felt that the car was not going fast enough, where we said, you and so you're the quickest car on track, when they were. And I think there it's, half a tenth wouldn't make a difference. We would still say you're the quickest car on track, just to give that boost. But otherwise, I'm never lying. People believe that this sport is full of lack of integrity. I think the strength in our team is we don't lie. If you don't want to say it, then we don't say it. But we don't tell you a complete nonsense story.
But it is full of politics, the sport, and you're really good at it, aren't you?
Well, politics is part of, I think, of my job specification. I hate all politics inside of the team. It's forbidden. If I hear some chit-chatter, then I try to stop it. When somebody sends me an email and complains about anybody else, I reply to that email copying the other person to make it super transparent. We can accept tough conversations because we all share our objectives. We want to win. One might have a different perception or opinion or perspective than the other one, but we all want to win. So I do that. And outside, obviously, we try to beat our competitors. That means we need to judge the regulations, maybe try to have a certain influence, have a strong voice in the F1 Commission when it comes to sporting direction, and so it's part of it.
The cost cap has a heavy impact on how can you work on the car. How does it influence the efficiency and developing the car?
Most important is that all the teams respect the cost cap. I think then we are working on a level playing field. So that is an area I'm particularly keen that this is happening. It certainly limits our ability to catch up and add performance. We probably could have added more performance, more updates onto the car if we would have had complete freedom of spending like in the years before, but we're limited by that. But so are all the others. It's a relative game. So yeah, let's say on the commercial side, it was very beneficial because it increased our profits. But on the sporting side, I'd rather have it not kept.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
I'd rather make less profit and win, because that's how we are all calibrated here.
Are you sentimental? This is a dominant car we are sitting next to.
Yeah, and I know if you've seen it, it's a dirty car in terms of the car is dirty and you can see lots of flies because we are keeping the car in the original state, and that car crossed the line in Abu Dhabi, winning a world championship. So you still have all the rubber, all the flies, all of it on the car. That's why, yeah, I'm looking at it in a sentimental way.
So why this car is here and Abu Dhabi 2021 is downstairs at the reception?
Yeah, we're swapping them around and trying to have different emotional impulses. And soon we will be putting the 22 car also somewhere visibly to say how we got it wrong. You want to look at that?
Do you finally know what you got wrong with the new concept?
Not completely, which is, like I said to you before, we measure downforce and performance on the car like we've done it for 10 years. But I don't think that is the formula for ground effect cars like we have since 2022.
So do you know what you want to do with the next year's car then?
We know more architecturally what we want to change. We know more where we want to actually generate downforce, much more. But we just need to continue to chip away this season because every more update, every more learning is providing information for a new baseline for next year.
What's the biggest strength of your team?
I think the integrity of the people. We are a good group. We can have tough love. That means the toughness is to talk tough because we have different opinions. The love bit is that we are sharing the objective of winning. But I fundamentally think the values, I mentioned integrity, loyalty, determination, humility. Most important, humility comes first. It's also what I tell my children. Is most important for sustainable success. And I'm not talking about 1 year or 2 years. I'm talking about 10 years and 20 years because those values are the immune system of a team. If things go bad, you want to have a strong immune system. And I hope looking back in a few years when you and I are much older to say the team was sustainably successful. There were years where it wasn't so good, but overall we've been always there.
What do you think are the biggest challenges that Formula One as a sport is facing right now?
I think we're doing very well. We had 480,000 people, so almost 500,000 in Silverstone. We just need to continue to provide a good show and entertainment whilst sticking to the rules. Entertainment always follows sports, not the other way around. This is not a scripted series. This is unscripted. So I think it's important to always have this, provide good sport.
So from sporting point of view, is it engine regulations your focus now or Concord Agreement? What are the main topics that are being discussed at the moment?
All of them. I think short term is policing of the cost cap, very important that we get that right. Short term is us trying to continue to work on the car. We're talking about Concord for 2026. We are talking about car regulations for 2026. So there's a short-term and a mid-term perspective.
How has the factory life changed under the cost cap?
Well, interestingly, we have grown. You wouldn't believe that.
I know, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, which I'm still looking at it and say, how can that happen? But we have different projects. We're doing the America's Cup boat for Ineos, which is quite a large part of our organization. Then, because we have cost cap, we have 45 people in finance today. That has grown from 16 to 45. The same applies to legal, compliance, HR. So alone in that group, there's 100 people more. Our marketing team is now 80 people strong because we are such a large organization. So it's a big machine that turns.
Are you good at making tough decisions?
I think one of my strengths, and I don't want to talk about your own strengths, it seems like you're losing the plot. But since I was a young child, I always had to take decisions because I was the one that in the family there was no one else because I lost my father very young. So I don't struggle taking decisions. I try to do it as informed as possible and not to shoot out of the hip. But I'm pretty good at opening the menu in a restaurant and coming up with a decision 10 seconds later.
Regarding your drivers as well, your employees as well.
Yeah, of course. So it's not only the restaurant, but it's a good test. You can do that. How good are you in decision making? Some of the engineers, when they look at the menu in the restaurant, they will think, is it spicy or sweet? Am I going to digest it good or not? Is it heavy? How much does it cost?
I feel like you're talking about me now.
Yeah, okay, so you can train that actually. Open the restaurant menu and give yourself 15 seconds to come up with a decision.
Is this how you're hiring people in the restaurant?
Yeah, so I would tell you, we had 45,000 applications for job last year. For one marketing function, 4,000. So I'm pretty sure that there is a large degree of probability that we're getting that wrong. But when I'm interviewing for the senior positions in the last rounds, I have an opinion after 3-4 minutes. And this is based on the personality. And I've rarely changed my mind after that.
How important is Lewis to the team?
Tremendously important, because he's not only the best driver with the biggest record, he's a very loyal, hardworking, integer person. He's been part of our success and also part of us not being good here. And then he's the biggest sports personality in the sport. He attracts a lot of media attention. He's not one-dimensional like many others. He's an activist in the things that matter to him. If it wouldn't be him, we would have done less about diversity. And he helps, get the car straight. So we can be really proud in having had Lewis for 10 years in the team, and hopefully many more.
Are you even thinking about the future of the team without Lewis?
Of course, it's my responsibility to look forward 5 years, who are going to be the drivers. But there is always a large degree of variability because, first of all, I think that Lewis can extend his active career for long. Modern athletes today, they look at nutrition, sleep patterns, medical support. I don't know how old Fernando is, but he's much older. Tom Brady, who was actually playing on the field, throwing a ball and being hit, went all the way until 44. So I think Lewis has a long time to go. But of course, we need to have alternatives because somebody can get injured or may decide to not race anymore, whether that is George or Lewis. So yeah, we have a good junior program that we're looking at, and obviously you always need to be open-minded for what's happening on the market.
We've just visited the factory, and it looks really amazing. You've got fantastic tools. So maybe I want to finish off with this human input. Do you feel like this is still the most crucial part when running such a big team?
It's all about the people. We talk about a team or a company and we imagine this organ, this structure. But at the end, it's always the sum of the people. And what I'm trying to do is provide a framework that the people function best. What is it that drives a person? What are a person's dreams, anxieties, hopes, objectives, from a very personal level to the core objectives of the team, and we spend a lot of time defining them. And I cannot design an aerodynamic surface, but I know a lot about the people who can, because I spend time. I like to spend time. I have a real interest for the person, and I hope that this is happening everywhere in the organization.
So what's your personal goal at the moment?
It's the thing is with goals, you mustn't tell them. because when you tell them, it's like, you know, they're gone. So you need to keep them. You need them keep them in your mind. Then they remain strong drivers. But I have a few.
It surely would be sweet thing to get Mercedes back on top, huh?
Yeah, I think it would be. It will feel very good to come back, win a race, and fight for championship, and win it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Świetna puenta. Mamy to. Bardzo Ci dziękuję. Wiem, że super zajęty jesteś jeszcze po domowym Grand Prix, także